Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another incredible starseed cosmic collaboration. Recently, I've just been feeling so called to bring all of my brothers and sisters together from all over the world and talk about what is going on right now, and also through these conversations, I really feel a strong pull to activate DNA, right? And I really feel like this is what these conversations are all about, is this activation. So when we bring really beautiful, really incredible souls together, that's typically what happens. And today I have an incredible soul with me. This is Unicole Unicron. And it's really incredible how we actually connected. I would say about a year ago, I ended up seeing a Vice like mini doc that Vice did on you. And it was about who you are and what you believe in and your collective and your tribe that you bring together. And I felt so pulled, like so drawn. I'm like, who is this girl? I need to know her. And I connected to you. And then it was months and months later where you, I think, recently found one of my videos, same sort of energy. Who is this girl? I got to connect to her. And now here we are, which is so incredible. I'm very excited that you're here, very excited to deep dive, and I'll kind of give a little intro for you, and then we can kind of get going. So Unicole Unicorn is a gender non-conforming Arcturian starseed here to bring joy to the earth. Love that. And Unicole does this through multimedia art and also through her collective, her religion, UNICULT. And I'm very excited to get into all of that. So thank you so much, Unicole, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Unicole Unicron, actually, but what's really interesting is I had a experience recently where someone was pushing me to change my name just to Unicorn, and I thought about it. I just considered it deeply because it's like a higher vibrational version of who I am. I started out actually as going by Uni Brainwasher, and then I raised the vibration to Unicole Unicron, and then I feel like Unicorn is the highest incarnation of that. So I think you're just seeing the higher version.
Yeah, no kidding. So what is Unicron then? Where did that come
Unicron,
from?
it came from my imagination. It's sort of like an undercover Pegasus unicorn that I invented. It's like a
Ooh.
unicorn with invisible feathered wings. So I I think I was just really guided to use that name. It turns out that it's also a transformer, which I didn't know at the time. And this transformer is sort of considered a chaos, like a force to be reckoned with. They are a world eater, so they destroy worlds so that new worlds can be reborn. And I do kind of, resonate with that as well, as dramatic as it is.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. So let's just talk about you a little bit and just give me and the viewers a backstory on who you are and basically how you ended up getting here.
Yeah, I'm an Arcturian starseed, so I've always been really weird, really different than people around me, and also acutely aware of that fact. I'm an empath, as most of us who are interested in spiritual topics at this point are, and the feeling of being ostracized and different just was so painful for me. And so I did everything I could to conform. And now that I look back, like that's a larger part of my mission on earth, is to really integrate myself into the indoctrination of what it means to be a human, what it means to subscribe to all of these gender and social roles, and then break out of them, and then have the tools and the skills and the verbiage and the understanding of how to do that. So I tried really hard to fit in. I tried really hard to be, just whatever I felt like I was supposed to be. And, I realized slowly over my life that it was just so empty. It just was so unfulfilling to do things just because I was told to do them. And I have this weird energy inside of me, which is like a radical nonconformist at the same time as like being a huge people pleaser. Like I really, really genuinely care about other people. At the same time, I'm this radical nonconformist. So I've had this like opposing energy inside of me forever. So I followed this path that other people said I should follow and just became more and more disenchanted, as I think we all are now, with the way that the world leads you to be pursuing empty goals. Even just materialism as a goal is so empty, and I felt that very strongly. So I fell into a deep depression because I didn't have any solutions. I didn't have any alternative teachings. I didn't know spirituality. You know, I felt like religion was really empty as well because I felt like it was a control mechanism and unintelligent. And I just sort of followed this path of desolation and depression. I didn't find any hope in the world. So I had, you know, depression, anxiety, agoraphobia. I was drugged, as, you know, people who follow that path are. I was drugged so heavily, I didn't know where I was at any given time. And eventually it got to the point where I was so removed from who I was and what I was supposed to do, you know, that I attempted suicide. And I tried to kill myself, and was miraculously saved. It was truly a miracle that I didn't die. And that's really the root and the seed of where my spirituality was started. Because when you're at that point where you are really ready to leave this planet, you're really ready to die, you really don't believe in anything, no spirituality, no afterlife, nothing, it's the bottom of the bottom. You know, there's no lower point than that, really. And you get to that point and it's like, somehow you miraculously survive. It's either some like crazy, cruel cosmic joke or there's purpose behind it and there's meaning. And so I had to find meaning in my life and I had to follow the spiritual path. I had to dismantle all of my social beliefs, all of my materialistic beliefs, and follow this spiritual path and really discover what the world really is and how it's been manipulated to make us feel empty and alone, and how there's the potential for unitopia, which is what we call the utopia in UNICULT.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And, you know, my story is also so similar to that. And it's incredible because I find that the awakening happens through one of two kind of outlets, which is interesting. One is everything is scraped away. You have nothing left whatsoever. And that leads you to depression and anxiety. And then the other, which is also very interesting and maybe a little bit more rare because it's difficult to kind of, you know, get out of that, but is when you have actually everything. You have everything that society tells you you should have, and yet you're still fucking depressed and you're still questioning everything. And you're like, but I have the car and I have the wife and I have the thing and I have the 9 to 5. Why? And that's why it's more rare, because I find people are always striving for something more. And it's very difficult, I would find, to, you know, get out of the place where you have everything and yet you're still depressed and then wake up from that. But that's what people are doing right now. You know, well, why? I'm at home and I'm doing nothing at all and I don't have anything to do and things are taken care of, but why do I still question everything, right? And it's really kind of bringing up this awakening, which is incredible. So let's talk about your cult. That's what you call it. It's a very sharp word, right? It's a very intense word. So I want to talk about the definition of cult in your eyes, and also like the choice in word, and then also just about your cult. Like, what do you guys do? I know you have like a group in person that typically meets. You know, what does, you know, a week in the life of this cult look like? Yeah, and just kind of explaining more about it.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about this deeply right now because we're going through this big awakening, especially. And my approach has always been, we need to get everyone to think for themselves. We need to get everyone to the point where they know how to listen to their own heart. And using the word cult is such a sharp word on purpose because it allows people to either walk away and stop thinking, or it makes them go, why is this person calling themselves a cult leader? And look deeper at it and start to investigate. Maybe things aren't just what they are on the surface level. You know, it's like you can't judge a book by its cover. And, you know, sometimes you can. And we've been trained to judge books by their cover. We've been trained to take things and just sort of agree to, you know, different boxes and ideologies and branding and all of these identifiers of reality. And we say, and it makes sense. There's so many stimuli happening at once. We need to have things sort of cataloged and fed to us. And we say, yes, I know, yes, no, that's a good thing, that's a bad thing. and things are more nuanced than that, and we need to learn how to make those distinguishing understandings of our own heart. So in UNICULT, we teach that, and it's really, I have the spiral behind me, which represents brainwashing, which we talk a lot about in UNICULT. And it's this idea of that us or them box, that, black or white, gay or straight, all these different separations that we have in society. And then following that into the singularity point, which is then bursts out into the rainbow. So it's the infinite expression of the rainbow is really what UNICULT is all about. It's about the transformation of the dualistic black or white thinking into everything is way more nuanced. There are unlimited number of genders. There are unlimited number of expressions. You as a soul, as an entity, is a completely different person than anyone else, no matter how many boxes you check.
Yep.
So UNICULT is about that. It's about the glorification of unique energy, and at the same time, the unification of us all through that. So those uni prefixes are really important to us because they represent the, individual within the entirety. And in UNICULT, we mostly focus on creating joy. So we talk about joy, and joy, really, I created UNICULT as a pop culture way to translate spiritual beliefs. I know that New Age isn't for everyone. I know that people you start talking even about the word vibration. People are like, what's vibration? So I'm trying to reach a different audience than what traditional New Agers reach with, by sort of changing the language a little bit to something more consumable to what people normally understand. So we talk about joy. As New Agers, we understand joy is just raising your vibration. It's raising your emotional energy to this higher density, higher vibration, other dimensional reality. But without going into all that directly on the surface, we say you can be happy. So for some people that's enough, and they hear that and they rise to the occasion as far as being happy and being joyous. But we focus on creating joy within ourselves, and we also focus on creating joy in the world. So it's not this individualistic thing. We say begin within, and then we go out into the world and we create systems and activities and art and multimedia experiences to try to change the vibration of the entire planet to align with joy. So in UNICULT, it's mostly online, actually. We have a Discord for the official members. People pay $11 for a lifetime membership. And to join UNICULT is really a magical process. To agree to join a cult is a very intense decision. And to join your energy to a group of people who are trying to change the world is also a very wonderful and powerful decision. So when you join UNICULT, you get access to the Discord. And then we have an incredible community on Discord. We have 2 different Discords. One of them is just for official members, and then people can choose to become devoted members, which means that they are working 1 hour or more a week toward making the world a better place through UNICULT. So people work on different things. They do things like Cam Church Review. Right now we have Cam Church Review every week is like a meeting. I do Cam Church every Sunday, and then the members get together and they talk about the teachings. And we have a book study. They study the fundamentals of UNICULT, which is the book that I wrote. And then we have a D&D group that meets and does UNICULT themed D&D, which is so awesome and so cute. We have a hotline, 1-833-UNICULT, which we're just getting started taking calls to real people. So if you're lonely in quarantine, you want to learn more about finding joy, you can call. So we have all these different projects where we're really working on reaching out to people. And we're really working on creating content. We have a news propaganda website called popcult.today where people can write articles about different ideas. It's just the amount, that's just what we're doing right now. The entire goal of UNICULT is an entire systematic overhaul for Earth. It's like I've come here with the ambition of like 12 people, and I'm here to completely radically shift in all industries. So that starts with the individual.
Absolutely. Incredible. I love it. I love your idea of really kind of shaking people up and almost like forcing them to question through the verbiage of cult. I figured that's kind of how you were using that. And I have a video out there too, and it says, "I'm a cult leader," right?
I love it.
And even just the other day, I wrote a note because I always get downloads and I have to write the notes down. And I got this download, and I'm like, everyone in the entire world has been living in a cult, and we're actually just waking up out of it, you know, which is incredible. So that's so beautiful. I love the structure of what you're doing, and I love how, even though on the outside it comes across as a little extreme for most people, but you're allowing it to be tangible for the people who are in it and involved in it and drawn to it. And it's also incredible because you are attracting the right people who are at the right vibration based on the frequency that you're emitting, which is really beautiful. And it's so cool because I can see the comparison between our teachings. Like, I see that you are just as connected and just as grounded as I am, which is really nice to see. And then, but also, like, we switch it up a little bit because I feel like, to be honest, I call myself visually a basic bitch, and I hate it. I'm like, I come across as this super, like, and it grinds my gears sometimes, but I project myself as just a very kind of conforming spiritual hippie chick. But yet I'm like, I will conform myself to the masses by just projecting this, but I'm going to go to that level. You know, I'm going to
Yeah.
talk about everything. So I'm going to bring people in through this, and then I'm just going to give it to them. And if they
Yep.
want to walk away, they can walk away. And for you, it's like you're very fine tuned with what you're projecting. It's like, it's all of this. And then for what you're giving, it's very tangible and relatable. So we're kind of switching a little bit, switching
It's the
that way.
exact same
Um,
situation of like, how
yeah,
are we like branding? And yeah, I think being born female, you know, it's like we got to use that. We're so disregarded as thinkers, as philosophers, as ideologists, you know, like it's
yeah,
like the idea of being a basic bitch is so weaponized against femininity. You know, it's like just to be in a female body is to be at a disadvantage when you're trying to teach people information because I mean, everyone knows at this
exactly.
point. And so, you know, I definitely took that question of, okay, here's the body I'm in, here's what I have to do. What's the best way for me to do this? You know? And it's like, for me, it was to become a pop star. You know, I was like, I have to become a pop star. Like, that's the only way I can get people to pay attention to what I'm going to say. So I started making music and yeah, being a pop star cult leader is kind of the way that I've done that. And that's definitely like the extreme version. But I love what you're saying too, which is, and recently I've been like, you know, questioning like, man, should I just be that basic bitch? Like the basic, like, you know, because it's like the people aren't ready to think as deeply as I push. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll get there. I know we will. And I know my time is, you know,
We
I live
are.
in the future. But yeah, it's all about reaching people who have been totally and thoroughly brainwashed by boxes, and either we shock them out of it or we ease them into it, and it's all so valid and so
Yeah.
important because everyone's in a different place.
Well, I want to tell you that this is your time. I mean, you've been ready for a while, but people out there, they're ready. They're ready to wake up. They're ready to be shocked. Everyone at this time is getting outside of the box of their reality, which is so incredible. So yeah, so this is the time for sure. And
Thank you.
definitely do not change what you're doing or how you present yourself. I think it's brilliant. And I think the people who are ready for it are going to resonate hard, just like I did, because I'm like, damn, this girl is killing it. You know, like, you're just really having fun and playing with polarity. And you have to be above polarity to play with it.
Right. And to see that and to
Yeah.
resonate. And there, like you said, there are people who, I mean, every day you know, there's new people coming into UNICULT, joining UNICULT, writing me emails, you know, just being like, whoa, I just discovered this, you know, and going down the rabbit hole. I know that happens to you too. People are like, this
Yeah.
is everything I need. And we need
Yes.
every type of person. Every person is a spiritual leader.
Yeah.
You know, Gabby
Yep.
Bernstein, she taught me that. That's
Yeah.
I just say that's all she ever taught me, but it's important. You know, like
Yeah.
every person is a spiritual leader, and we need all the people, all hands on deck.
Everyone, yeah. Beautiful. So let's talk about your cosmic connections. You say that you're an Arcturian starseed. Can you just kind of give me and the viewers just some background on that. How did you get connected? Because everyone at this time really wants to get connected to their star family, and they all feel like star seeds. And it's really nice having that background story, so other people can start thinking about how to connect to their own star family.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, wow, I'm so weird and I'm so different and I can't fit in. And I didn't have any way to describe that, you know? And I think
Yeah.
watching on YouTube other people who are like, I was so weird and I didn't know why. And it makes sense. It's like we are these seeds of energy that are just completely different than the energy around us. And I think if you feel that, you are definitely from another place, because people who are, you know, incarnated on earth over and over and over again, they find the energy of earth very easy. If you find the energy of earth not easy, then you're probably not from here, you know? So you're someone who's here to disrupt that energy and change things. For me, I felt very different. I started getting into conspiracy theories, and I started seeing the bigger picture, learning about reptilians and, you know, 2012 stuff. And um and that was very shocking, and that's when I started getting downloads. And you know, I would have these experiences where I would be yelling at the sky, knowing that I was heard, you know, but not really having the understanding of like who was hearing me or why or what. But I like, and I think it's just this trauma we have of being raised. It's like, when I was a kid, the first time I ever doubted my parents' judgment was when they told me that the Care Bears weren't real. I was like, no, the Care Bears are definitely real. Like, there are entities in the clouds that talk to me, that like help me, and they're looking out for me, and they're benevolent and they're loving. And I think that was my interpretation of my guides. And I think I've always been connected to them, but I've had to sort of compartmentalize my brain as to like how that relationship looked. And so it's like, I think I was always communicating, but just in the back of my head, just like, don't look at that, don't acknowledge like that you're getting information from the sky, like just, you know, assume that that's not real. So I think we all have this like sort of gaslighting that we do with our abilities and with our, you know, communication with higher entities and higher energies. But for me, you know, it was about opening my third eye, doing those very, you know, standard things of eating clean, stopping drinking fluoride, meditating, focusing on my internal energy. And for me, I was watching a show actually called Continuum, and in it they have a communication device, and it's on their third eye. And I love that. And I think that that is so powerful, because it helped me conceptualize. I didn't even know about third eyes at the time. And I got high one day on cannabis, and I was like, I'm gonna like turn on my communication device. And then I started hearing voices, and I was like, oh no, I'm crazy. Like, you know, like, wait, no, turn it off. And I wasn't audibly hearing voices, but I was having clear, distinct thoughts that were not my own. And I could tell because my thinking is very rapid, and the downloads I was getting were very slow, as a way to distinguish them from my own thoughts. So I started getting these communications that I wasn't totally sure I wanted. And they were like, you need to go outside and hold crystals to your forehead. And I, you know, I was getting headaches. And so I would do that, and I would get these downloads of information. I was learning how to telepathically communicate, and I was learning how to get these downloads. And that was happening. And I think for me, I just had to like trust. And for me also, like I was at a point where I had already tried to kill myself. I was already at this point of like, I just have to do whatever makes me feel good. Otherwise, I'm going to die. So I gave myself the permission to be crazy. I gave myself the permission to tune into a reality that no one else in my life supported or backed up or verified. So that was very challenging in many ways. And for me in particular, I found a book called We the Arcturians, which is a channeled book, and it was channeled during the month and year of my birth. And I was actually born during the world's first global meditation. So there's a lot of energy happening on that day and in that month. And the book was channeled in that month. And when I read it, it was like reading, it was like if your parents wrote a book and you didn't know that they had written it, but you read it, you'd be like, I recognize this language. I recognize these ideas. Like, this feels like home to me. So for me, when I read We the Arcturians, it felt like my parents had written a book for me, like to find. And I wrote to the author. I said, this book was written for me. And she said, 500 or more people have written me saying that same thing. So these technologies, and when I say technologies, I mean media, I mean books and YouTube videos and, activations and meditations are here to wake people up. And we all have programming in our consciousness, sort of sleeper aspects of our consciousness when we come here, so that different words. I remember in 2014, I watched a YouTube video that was just like Pleiadian. And it was like, you remember this word, like we're just going to say the word Pleiadian over and over, like it'll wake you up. and I like, there's a part of me that like gets that, like there is this deep knowledge that's in our souls, it's in our bones, that when we expose ourselves to this information, it lights us up. It's just like how you and I felt when we each saw each other separately. It's like, I know that person, like we need to talk, we need to be connected. And it's deep in our psyche. So my advice to people is just trust your feelings and be brave to be crazy, because you'll feel crazy for a little bit, but then it'll just make more sense than anything else has ever made in your whole life.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. I love all of that. And that actually sparked a memory of mine that I don't know why, I guess so much happens, you just forget most of the things that go through you. But a long time ago, I was in this little kind of shabby bookstore, and I was with my brother, and he reaches up on the top shelf, which I definitely can't reach, and he pulls out this little thin book. And he says, I think this is for you. And my brother isn't spiritual or, typically very in tune. So I'm like, okay. And the book, I don't even know what the title was now, but it was like, You Are a Hybrid. And it was super, super thin. And it was like $3. And I'm like, okay. And it literally said, like, these are all the symptoms of a hybrid ambassador, coming to the planet. And if you found this book by chance, like, you're a part of that. And that was probably my biggest confirmation on my path to say, you know what, I'm not crazy. I am onto something, and I should keep exploring this, because just like you, I didn't have any validation. I didn't have spiritual teachers or mentors or anything, when I was stepping into this. And luckily for most people nowadays, they have people like us, which is great. And luckily and hopefully for those people, they're finding teachers and mentors that are leading them inward to themselves and not to the teacher, you know what I mean? And that's what I really feel with you, is that really authentic energy of, it has nothing to do with me, it has everything to do with you, which is incredible.
The other day I called myself a bouncer. I'm just like showing people the path into themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Or I like to call myself a mirror as well. I'm just a reflection, right? That's it. And recently people, same sort of thing, like, oh my goodness, like, you've said everything that's on my mind, or I can't believe I found you, or I wish I found you 5 years ago, or I've been waiting for you. And I always comment back whenever I see those messages, and I say, no, you've been waiting for yourself. You haven't been waiting for me. It's not about me. Right. And so it's just incredible to find another teacher like that. And that's kind of how and this is what I'd say to people: any teacher, anyone who tells you what to do and what not to do is not a teacher. Right. They're disempowering you. And it's just like, here's some things to think about, but it's up to you whether or not you do that. Right. So really good, really good. Let's kind of talk about the state of the world right now. Like, we both love playing with polarity. We both love playing this game. And we love playing it because we can be on the outside of it. And that's what makes it so fun, to play within polarity. So from your opinion, perspective, your soul, what do you feel is really going on the planet right now at this time? I mean, during quarantine and this whole virus thing, what do you think is really happening here?
The thing I think is happening is the thing that spiritual teachers have been saying since the 70s. You know, there's a photon belt, there's a great awakening, it's a new age, we're entering into a new age, and all these things, and we're just used to things kind of happening quickly. We didn't really, you know, maybe it's hard for us to understand this as a multi-100-year process. And it's hard when you're born in a body with like total awareness by the age of 20, and you're like, okay, let's go, like let's jump into it, like let's destroy the old systems and bring in the new, you know. And then it's like everyone else is like, that will never work, like all the people in your life, and you're like, what are you talking about? Because people are just so ingrained in this thing. And so when coronavirus happened, you know, I spent the first like 2 weeks like laughing my head off, like it's happening, you know. Like, I've been waiting forever. And you know, it's like that's not a very grounded way to see it, but it's like when you're prepared since 2012 or whatever, you know, and you finally see these like things you know to be true happening, it's like it can be pretty exciting, but it's also scary, you know. And I don't mean to take away from that side of it too. I know that the media is pushing so hard to keep people afraid and separated. This duality of us versus them has permeated every single conversation. You can't, it's like, are you one of the good guys or the bad guys? And I'm going to yell at you if you're a bad guy, and there's no nuance. And I mean, it looks chaotic, but the way that I see it is this, you know, singularity activity of sort of entering into a black hole. We've got this big spiraling black and white energy that's going to this pinpoint of total confusion. I've been describing it like a butterfly turning into goop before they become a butterfly. You know, they're in the cocoon, and you literally have to become goop before you can start to reform. And that's the most scary and the most confusing thing, because it's like, who am I? I thought I had this image of myself as a butterfly in the future, but now I'm just goop. Like, this is the scariest possible thing. And that's on the individual level and the global level, the worldwide level. So we have to consider like all the feelings of everyone all the time is really intense. But I do believe we are entering into this place of a time where we cannot go back. There's a lot of effort and technology and deception and darkness that I think we're all becoming more and more aware of you know, the Illuminati or the Cabal or whatever you want to say, these people who are so fear-based that they need to control others. And they're putting up a fight. They're in their death throes. We're going to see that for another 30 years maybe, but that's at the most. You know, evil destroys itself. And the more we just trust in our ability to create the new world and create joy and create the paradise that we deserve to live in, where everyone has their basic needs met, where we have free time to do whatever we want, where abundance is just flowing because we know that's the truth of abundance, all these things that spiritual people already know. If we just trust in that vision, like it will come to pass. And it will come to pass even if you don't trust in it, but it'll just be more comfortable if you do. So that's how I see it. You know, it's like, it is chaotic, it's scary, it's confusing. We're not going back. That's a good thing. The systems are broken and failing and don't serve us, and we can build new ones that do, but we have to use our imagination.
Yep. Absolutely. Beautifully put. Really, I love that imagery about the butterfly and the chaos. And I've been telling people this as well. If you've already gone through your ego death, if you've already collapsed your identities and your old realities, this is going to be way easier for you than other people who have had the identity around their 9 to 5 or around their bank account or around their, you know, I'm a perfect dad because I go to, you know, work and I come home and I get to play with the kids. It's like, now you're with your kids, you know, are you still the perfect dad, right? Are you still that 9 to 5, you know? And so it's really beautiful, the collapse that's happening. And I think the people who have done those deeper shadow work, energies, then, you know, we are laughing, we are having a good time, and it is a very exciting time to be alive. And it's beautiful how we get to be this voice of reason and pull people out of that fear and remind them of what is true, which is this is all orchestrated, this is all super divine, which is incredible. Is there anything that you would want to recommend for people in quarantine at home right now? Any practices that you do that you feel are really uplifting or, you know, really aligning? Anything that you would recommend for people?
Yeah, and this goes against my normal advice. Like, I'm a very digital person. I've been online since the beginning of the ability to be online. Like, I love technology, but it's time for us to turn off our devices for
Mhm.
extended periods of time. And part of that is what I believe is an agenda to try to upload us and upload our consciousness and get us more controllable in a digital space where our energy is more easily directed. um, I still believe in technology. I still believe in the potential for technology to truly consciously benefit us, but we're not there right now. And the flowers have a lot to say. And as
Mhm.
silly as it might sound to some people, like, it's one of the most real things I think I like, the most real advice I can give right now, which is take a day and turn off your TV, turn off your phone, turn off your video games, and go for a 3-hour walk around your neighborhood. Like, this is more important than any other advice I can give you right now, because it's about seeing reality in a different way than is being directed at us. We're sort of trapped, sort of glued to our screens. We're just being force fed all this information, but there's a wealth of information inside your own consciousness, in nature, and even in your neighborhood with the people around you. Not, stay 6 feet away, but I do think that the advice I've been giving is learn how to see a broader spectrum of reality within
Mhm.
what you're trapped in right now. What's your advice
Beautiful.
lately?
Yeah, I've been doing the same thing. I mean, the number one thing is no news. Really, seriously. News, like, it'll shift your vibration so extremely. And then the one day that you don't watch any news, oh my goodness, all of a sudden you're good and the world isn't collapsing and you're recreating your reality in the moment. So I really have been giving the same advice, especially the no news, but I love just shutting off your phone and your devices altogether. And that's very powerful. And then also my advice is, like, get out in nature, same thing like you, just as much as possible. I mean, I spent like 45 minutes watching an anthill the other day, and it was the best freaking thing I could have ever done. I love ants for whatever reason. It's weird, but it's incredible. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, and self-love practices too, we're really learning how to re-love ourselves. So things like take a bath, write in your journal, do some tapping, meditate, do some stretching in the morning, give love to your food before you eat it. We're really trying to reestablish this new connection to self, while
And the
we have the
home.
time. Like, this is a blessing, right?
Yeah. I've been trying
Yeah.
to put a lot of energy into the home, keeping the house clean instead of just, it's easy to just like make a mess and like lay in bed and like look at Twitter, it's just like not high vibrational. We
Yeah.
have the time, we have the, focus and the energy to just turn it off, clean the dishes,
Yeah.
meditate, light some incense, like
Yeah.
enjoy your space.
Yep, exactly. So beautiful. And then the last question here is, anything else in general, like we talked and we touched about, like, on a lot of points that are very relevant. Anything else that you feel people really need to know right now in general?
I think right now it's about like resistance. I think like where you feel resistance, really dig into that. I think people want to use that resistance and that fear to attack others, just to sort of make themselves feel more grounded. But that can only go on for so long until you collapse in on yourself. So if you find yourself like responding, jealously or angrily, or, wanting to shut someone down or make someone feel bad, it all happens to all of us. It's a normal thing that happens, but just analyze it and say, what triggered me? Like, what made me react that way? Where was I told in my past that this type of reality isn't possible? Where was I told
Yeah,
to make myself smaller, or whatever it is? And heal those parts of yourself. Use that as an indicator, as a calibrator for your own thing. That's just a guided message I wanted to share. So anybody's
that's
watching
great.
this, like,
That's
got
amazing.
it.
Yeah.
And yeah, join UNICULT.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I always get to say.
Amazing. So, how can people find you? Obviously, all of your links will be posted in the comments and descriptions below this video. But just for the people listening, how can people find you and get more of your content?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, so I'm assuming, people are watching this on YouTube. YouTube
Yep.
people, we're all connected. And but also I'm just all over the internet. If you just search Unicole Unicron, or UNICULT. You'll find tons of information. If you want to join UNICULT, you can do it through Etsy. We have the application there. Feel free to email me or comment on my videos. I'm pretty available unless, you know, someone comments something that requires no response, which sometimes they do. I usually do respond if people have questions or want to know more. So yeah, I'm just here. The UNICULT members are here, and we're here to help with this transition and be a community and offer support. So there's all, it's fun to go down the rabbit hole of me, and I've created quite a bit of controversy over the years. So
I love it. I love it. I love how you're playing with that. Amazing. Thank you so much for
thank
being here.
you. Uni
It was
bless.
such
It's
a
been an
pleasure.
honor.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again for sure. Until next time.
Uni bless.